Okay, Cam. Okay, Cam. I see you. I see you. Willing to go to New England, succeed to be the successor to Tom Brady? Oh, my goodness. I like it. I like it. Can New England win the Super Bowl again? Can they do it again? I don't know, Patrick Mahomes. I don't know Deshaun Watson. I don't know Lamar Jackson. I don't know. I don't know. But I love it. Ooh. Cam, I hear you, bro.
What is your initial reaction when you heard it yesterday? Cam to the Patriots, what was your first thought?
Well, I loved it. I loved it because I know what a tremendous athlete Cam Newton is. I know how hungry he is to really shut up the naysayers that have questioned his level of greatness and what he's produced throughout his career. And a combination of that with not just the greatness of Bill Belichick, but a highly motivated Bill Belichick who's out to prove that he can indeed win without Tom Brady as his quarterback. I think all the stars have aligned. I love the idea of these two together. I think that he can help Cam Newton be a better quarterback. And I think that Cam Newton, although certainly not the passer that Tom Brady has been throughout his illustrious career, I don't think there's any question that Tom Brady is not in his stratosphere as an athlete. The ability to move the chains, to run with the football, to make things happen with his legs. That dual threat that Cam Newton will present at the quarterback position with Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels as your offensive coordinator, I think it can reap some big-time dividends for the New England Patriots. So I'm excited for Cam Newton, particularly since he's highly motivated and since so much about him has been questioned, because him and Bill Belichick right now might be the two of the top three most motivated people in the entire NFL, with Tom Brady obviously being in that top three as well.
I love that thought. Dominique, we've been talking about this all morning, but haven't really gotten to that. The mindset you would imagine Cam Newton is in here. He was the face in every way of the Carolina Panthers franchise, overwhelmingly the most important player that franchise has ever had. And they let him go in a way that can be deemed by many disrespectful. And then they did that Twitter poll last week where they didn't even include him amongst their franchise legends. No team seemed to want him. Shefty said an hour ago there were no other teams that were interested in him. What would you imagine Cam Newton's mindset is going into this?
Well, he's incredibly motivated, and I think Cam Newton, as I mentioned earlier, you're not just signing a quarterback, you're signing an offense, and that's what he's been down in Carolina. They haven't had too many great players to put around him. Occasionally they had, Greg Olsen might have been the best receiver that he had, who was a tight end. You see him catching the ball right there, and they had McCaffrey recently, but Cam hasn't been healthy for much of that. You're putting him in a similar situation where they have a lot of good running backs and a great offensive line in New England, but not much else. And I think Cam Newton is good enough to make any offense, even a hobbled Cam Newton, I think brings their offense to mediocre. And if Cam Newton can get anywhere close to showing the flashes of greatness that he was showing before he got hurt again and what he was showing back in his MVP season, I do think this is a legitimate Super Bowl contending team, because that defense is so good and running the ball on offense with the quarterback makes them look a lot like what the Ravens are doing there with Lamar Jackson. That could be incredibly scary, especially since Cam Newton also has the ability to throw for 300-plus yards in a game and multiple touchdowns. That team is getting pretty scary right now, although I still think the Ravens and the Chiefs are ahead of them.
It's an interesting thought. Their defense is really good, so an above-average offense this year is probably good. You know, Stephen A., I know that just by asking the question, people are going to yell at me, but I think it's the right question to ask. For this coming season alone, are the Patriots better off with Tom Brady or Cam Newton as their quarterback? Which version of the Patriots is better this coming season, Tom Brady at quarterback or Cam Newton at quarterback?
Well, I'm going to say Cam Newton, and I can say that with relative ease because of the friction that evidently existed between Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. They were no longer on the same page. They were on the same page in terms of prioritizing, attempting to win football games. There's no doubt about that. Nobody should question that. But in terms of their belief in one another, Tom Brady obviously was severely compromised because of the lack of weapons that were available to him. Not that N'Keal Harry and Lacoste and those boys can't play. It's just that they were relatively young. Julian Edelman certainly wasn't 100% healthy. Even though you had Josh McDaniels there, the fact of the matter is Bill Belichick had made it clear years earlier that he was willing to move in a different direction. And so there was a residue of discontent there that simply could not be ignored. And when you have that kind of stuff going on between your quarterback and your coach, and both of you have won 6 Super Bowl championships together, there does come a point in time where you're able to say, look, the time is now. It's no longer what it used to be. We need to move on. Certainly you don't compare the resume of Cam Newton to that of Tom Brady, but it did reach a point where clearly they needed to separate and move in different directions. And there's nothing wrong with that. No matter how great a combination may be, you do get to a point where you're tired of looking at each other. You're tired of hearing each other's voice. You're tired of getting the same reaction from one another or whatever. And especially when you're a coach as great as Bill Belichick and you've basically put word out that I'm looking to move on from this guy, and it was in the form of Jimmy Garoppolo. I got news for you. If you're Tom Brady, you're better off in Tampa Bay right now. He knows it. Everybody else should know it. And considering the fact that Cam Newton has been questioned, he got screwed over royally by the Carolina Panthers because of how late they waited to let him go and basically compromise his marketability and his leverage. The fact is he's incredibly, incredibly motivated. He's 11 years at least younger than Tom Brady, and he can run with the football, and he's more athletic. It's not going to be the same, but there's no question that there are things that Cam Newton can do that can help the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick.
Look, Cam Newton is a lot younger than people think he is. Cam Newton is younger than Russell Wilson. Cam Newton is younger than Aaron Rodgers. He's younger than a lot of
31.
other quarterbacks who are still playing at a very high level. Nate, go ahead.
And he looks like a defensive end when you see him in those workout videos. He's a monster. But, I mean, I think the first take debate is going to begin right now because as much as I love Cam Newton in this situation, I still would feel better with Tom Brady back there for this season because of the history that he had, so much success. And I'm sure that the turmoil that they had last year wasn't the first time they had some turmoil. And you mentioned they wanted to opt for Jimmy Garoppolo. They went and won Super Bowls after Jimmy Garoppolo got sent, or a Super Bowl after Jimmy Garoppolo got sent out to San Francisco. So I love Cam there. I think Cam is the second best option. But if they could have kept it together with Tom Brady, I feel more confident in that team, honestly, even though Tom Brady is in 40+ than I do in this Cam Newton offense going forward.
Go ahead, Steve.
Well, there's a lot of ifs and could-haves in that argument. My contention is that based on what we saw from them last year, I'm not saying, again, resumes don't even compare. Tom Brady is in another stratosphere. But based off of what we saw in terms of their relationship last year, it was clear it was time to move on. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm comparing Cam's arrival to the departure time of Tom Brady. That's all I'm saying. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.